Hello and welcome to the show. Now, I was very fortunate to be invited to Vegas to not only watch an actual Supercross race, but to have a go with the new Supercross 3 game. Now, I will start off by saying I know very little about bikes, full stop, especially when it comes to any sorts of off-road racing, motocross, supercross, etc. Now, I have immense respect for those that compete in this. It is an incredible spectacle, shall we say, almost, watching these things go racing. It is just very, very different to the kind of motorsport that I'm used to watching. I'm mostly a car person at the end of the day. Also, we don't really have this kind of bike racing in England. Not as much. There are certainly club level stuff, and there is some amounts of this that go on, but you just kind of don't really find this event over here. I will say, America, you certainly do know how to put on a good show. The actual race was fantastic. The actual Supercross race itself was brilliant. Those that might have been around to see it, and actually a couple of you were there at the stadium. Some of you might have watched it on TV, etc. Fantastic, especially the final race was utterly ridiculous. Incredible spectacle to watch these guys and girls go racing. As I said, I have immense respect for the skill it takes to keep these things pointing in the right direction and to do some of the stuff that they managed to make the bikes do around this sort of stadium. That was very, very cool indeed. So, on to the game. Now, this is a kind of early alpha version. I believe the game comes out February next year. We were given two different circuits to have a go around. This first particular track, this is the Houston circuit. Probably the track I spent the more time on around this one, trying to vaguely learn. As I said, I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to bikes. You might figure that one out quite quickly. Now, there are various settings and assists and whatnot that you can put on. I started off initially putting this on the realistic physics, fell off an awful lot, and then went back to the normal physics. Basically, the physics that will give you a little bit of help. Basically, the sticks, you have the left stick that will do your steering, you have the right stick that will do the rider kind of weight, if you like, and you can move them around independently. When you have it on the more arcadey physics, it means you get a little bit of computer-assisted help on that one, which, I'll be honest, I kind of needed. By the end of it, I was starting to much more get the hang of it. It just took a little while to just get the hang of it, because it is very, very different indeed. So yeah, I also was sticking it with automatic gears, because my brain couldn't figure out how to do gears. Oh, and the brakes can also be done separately as well, if you wish. When you have it on the slightly more arcadey physics setting, it does have the brake sort of joint, so you can have front and rear brakes separate, rider weight separate, and then we worry about gears. And my brain couldn't do all of that in one go. It's just I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. I didn't know what I was doing well enough to be able to deal with all of that. So while I was here trying to learn it, this was all kind of the basic. And it's nice, of course, that there is options. You're going to see we've got this line. This is like a flow line, I believe is the name for it. It basically tells you how you should be taking the jumps. As you can see on this particular section, I got everything completely and utterly wrong. But it means that the game can be that little bit more accessible for those like me who don't really know what they're doing, and sometimes end up face first on the floor. Yes, even with everything trying to help you, you're still going to fall off. It's still very easy to ask a little bit too much of the bike, too much of yourself. I've very nearly pinged myself off going through that particular jump. But yeah, you can still get yourself into a lot of trouble. But it is it's very rewarding when you get things right. I think that is actually the best way to describe it. Driving around here, it became very apparent very quickly that I wanted to drive the bike like a car, and that's not how you get speed. And it took quite a while to get my brain into a slightly different sort of mindset. You can't race this like you race a car. You can't take the lines. You can't drive it like you would a car, as I would be used to on a normal tarmac. So I mean, the closest you'd find, I guess, is like stadium super trucks, but I haven't really driven all of them that much, because yeah, you've got to get everything lined up. You've got to get everything lined up for all of the different jumps. If you want to be getting good lap time, you've got to be getting your jumps sorted, so you don't do what I do in a couple of these, where you kind of clatter in between jumps and can't maintain your speed. Some of these you've got to try and sort of go for clear three. You've got to know how to do triples across some of these jumps, and it was just a learning experience. And that was very good fun. That was very good fun. Now, as I said, we only had 2 different circuits unlocked for essentially a quick race. You had the AIs were locked on medium difficulty around here, and we had just 2 tracks to play around with. Now, that might not sound like an awful lot, perhaps. There is, when the full game comes out, there is the full roster of circuits. Kind of a shame we didn't have the Vegas track to play around with, seeing as we were there at that one. But yeah, that was what we had to play around with in this early version, and I had a lot of fun just trying to drive it, and that says a lot about the physics. I don't know how realistic they are. I couldn't tell you. I don't know a damn thing about bikes. I don't know how these bikes are supposed to ride, quite what they are supposed to do. What I can tell you is the game was fun to play. It was fun to try and learn these physics. They weren't frustrating. A couple of times things went a little bit weird. I think a bike kind of pinged off of a jump at a slightly wonky angle. This is still an early version of the game, but it was fun. It was a good challenge. It was a very different challenge for me, but it was a good challenge, and I felt like I was learning. As time went on, I felt like I was getting, I say more and more comfortable with the bikes. I was figuring out what I needed to do with the damn things. It was a case of learning, not just learning the track layout, not just learning where you need to brake. That particular instance there, nope, that was definitely not where I need to go. We have a little bit of a hug of a barrier. It's not just the learning. You've got to kind of think vertically as well. It's not just learning where you need to brake and where you need to accelerate, but it's where do I need to be fast, because I know the exit of this corner, I need to get across a jump. I need to be able to jump across 3 areas, for example. Where do I perhaps not need to carry every bit of mile an hour possible, because if I do, I'll then make a mess of the next section. It's all of those little things that you have to start worrying about, and the game deals with very, very well. Now, there was no tutorial. I think I was trying. There is a way to scrub off speed in the air, and I kind of tried to guesswork it, and I think I roughly got kind of close. There's a way to kind of scrub off speed, so it's to scrub off height, because you'll need the speed to get the jump, but the more time you're in the air, as the bike just spirals into the grandstands. Yeah, there were some impressive ragdoll incidents for me. But yes, I believe is a way to basically scrub off height on a jump, because you still want the speed, because you want to be able to go far enough, but the more time you're in the air, the less time you are putting the power down, and you want to be putting the power down. Basically, you want to be driving forwards. So I'm sure there are lots of little tricks. I'm sure there'll be some of you watching this wondering what on earth I am doing as I try to figure out. But as I said, the fact of the matter is, me as a non-experienced, rider, not really know what I'm doing with this sort of stuff, was very much enjoying the challenge. I mean, one of the mornings that we were there, as a bunch of us were playing, just trying to get faster and faster lap times than each other. They were a lot faster than me. I can tell you that much, by an awful, awful long way. But I enjoyed just 3/4 an hour of hot lapping on this game. And that's impressive. At the end of the day, to be able to say that, it was just a fun thing to ride around in. As we can't always finish, it wasn't the best of races, but I mean that was a little bit earlier on in my playtime. I did get a little bit better as the game went on, honestly. I did get a little bit better with all that. We ended up in 5th, could be worse. And bear in mind, if you are very much into your bike racing and so on, that was just medium difficulty. I don't know how many more difficulty settings there are going to be, but the AI do put up a pretty decent fight. And of course, speaking of AI, well, there are 22 bikes running in this. That is a lot of bikes. There's a lot of bikes, a lot of people running into turn 1. Things tend to get quite busy at the start of a race. If this particular one here, so this is at the other circuit, this is at Anaheim, this particular race here, I actually get very lucky. We kind of scoot our way up the inside and manage to avoid quite a lot of the carnage. The start of these races are bonkers, because you have 20-odd bikes going into what is often quite a tight corner. Now, in car racing, 3 or 4 wide is really pushing it. I mean, 4 wide in cars is very unlikely to work out well for anybody involved. And these are going like 8 wide into a corner. And I have to say, the AI are decent. The AI will put up a good fight. The AI will make mistakes, though. You will see... And I'm not just talking about mistakes as in crashing. You will see that, as well, so I actually didn't reset on the outside there. You will see the AIs fall off the bikes from time to time, but you will also see them make mistakes when it comes to jumps. You will see them end up out of sequence, much like I do, quite a lot of times down here, but you'll see AI bikes that have just got the speed wrong somewhere, and so it kind of feels like a little bit more of a natural race. Now I presume as the difficulty goes up you'll see less of that kind of thing, but yeah, it made for interesting races in this one. This particular track was very, very different as well. I was helped in this race as the AIs up ahead made a mess of things. One ran wide, clonked a barrier, fired the barrier across the track that took out the other one. They both fell off, and I inherited the lead, pretty much. I mean, much appreciated, I have to say. But there we go. Yeah, this particular circuit, very, very different to the first track. This one was a little bit more open, and there was these really big jumps at the back of this track that you had to get right if you wanted to get even vaguely close to a half-decent lap time. And as I said, these were the two tracks that we had to play around with, and I would spend quite a long time just trying to figure out where the hell I'm going. I completely and utterly ruined that section on this particular lap, and it will take a little while to learn the circuits if you want to be going quickly around here to perfect the circuits. I think it will take a lot longer for me to learn these tracks than it would with a car, because you've got to think in a lot different of ways. But again, it's fun to do because the physics are there. I'm more impressed with for the riding physics. Like I said, I really genuinely can't tell you the realism on this front, but I can tell you that they are very, very good as we go for some more big jumps. Yeah, by this point, this was a little bit later on in my playing. I had kind of started to get the hang of things, not always, and there were times where I was trying to decide, well, the flow lines are great and everything. You can still make up your own if you want to go for triple somewhere, or if in a case like here, I carried so much speed through a corner, I actually entirely balls that one up because I jumped way too high and couldn't get back down again. There are other ways around this circuit if you want to go for it. The particular line is, I guess, the recommended one, but if you are clever, if you are good, you can go for a little bit further jumps, and I was kind of experimenting. I was experimenting a little bit, often by accident, I think is probably the best way to put it. Sometimes I'd get like this mega run through a corner and suddenly realise I go way quicker than I expected, and you end up in a little bit of trouble. And as I said, your lines through the corners can vary. Like, actually battling with other bikes is quite interesting because overtaking is quite different in all of this. Yeah, trying to get a pass is not so simple. There will probably be some contact along the way. You can occasionally ping off of each other's bikes in midair, which is a little bit entertaining and often ends up quite badly for people. But yeah, we were actually starting to pull away in this particular race, which was nice. I mean, I was starting to get the hang of it, not carrying too much speed, a little bit of a lift this time before we go across the big jump, and that's generally a little bit better. Now, as far as the actual game goes, it was going okay. I might have got a little carried away. I think I landed a bit on the front of that one and ended up there. Thankfully, I had enough time. As far as recovery goes, if you do crash, the game is relatively kind. The game is relatively kind. If you do crash, you don't lose all that much time. Now, while that's nice for me, as very inexperienced, I'm probably going to go down a couple of times per race for a while at least, until I start figuring out the circuits and whatnot. That is quite nice. It is a very fast reset. It's a very, very fast reset. Maybe there may be an option to have sort of slower, more realistic resets, more punishing. If that is what you like. I certainly wouldn't want it to be a guaranteed really big penalty. However, it might be nice on a more realistic setting perhaps to have a slower reset time, because while, yes, actually in the race, one of the riders in second went down, got back on the bike and was still in seventh, and so it wasn't a kind of 2-second reset job. I was going to say, we only got to play the free play aspect of the game. There were some very interesting features announced. First of all, you can actually now join the teams. I guess I don't know enough about the teams in this one. Previous games, you kind of ran with your own sponsor, whereas now you can actually join and sign up to the various teams, be teammates with the various riders and so on. Again, if you know your Supercross, I'm sure that'll be absolutely fantastic. I don't recognise any of the names, but it is a cool feature to now have. The most interesting feature that I saw on this one is a race director's mode. Now, this works, as I managed to mess up the bridge. There was moments of good, okay? Just accept the moments of good. Yeah, race director mode. This is a really interesting thing, and I would like to see this actually in a lot more games. Basically, you can be the host of a race. This is for online racing. You can be essentially, well, as the name suggests, race director. You can command an online session, and that means you can set the grid. You can actually apply penalties while the race is in progress. That's pretty damn good. That's really good for esports stuff. That's very good for sort of streaming if you want to be a race host. Of course, while you are in that mode, you get all the spectator cameras and you can jump around and watch what's going on. But I really like that as a feature. That is something I could very much see. You know, I think every racing game, general racing games, car racing games, would be a really cool feature to have in more of them. I actually really look forward to giving that a try, because that does sound like a really, really good idea. It sounds like a thing that I want to see in a lot more games. I did have a go at first-person view in this one. Yes, if you are someone who wants to have a go at first-person dirt bike racing, you can do that in here as well. Now, I was expected to be terrible. I've tried racing in first person on bike games before, and it generally ends not well, shall we say. It generally ends up with me quickly giving up, and that's that. I actually kind of had quite a lot of fun with this. It is very different doing this because you don't necessarily... I mean, you have a rough idea quite where the back of the bike is landing, but certainly if you're twisting it around in the air to try and scrub off the height or so on, you can't really see where you're going. You're just hoping that you've pointed the right way. I do it a couple of times. You kind of have this brief moment where you have no idea where on earth you're going, quite how it's going to be. And there are a few times on some jumps where I think I've got my sort of front over the jump, but I don't quite get the back wheel where I need it to be, and that means we fall off, basically. It's easy to make mistakes with this, for sure. I did actually pick it up, though it wasn't too bad. I kind of got the hang of it, partly because I'd started getting used to this track, and when I say started getting used to this track, I really do mean started. It would take me a lot longer. The thing is, I want to try and get half decent in this game. Certainly, it's not a case of, well, yeah, I'm not great with bikes. I do look forward to playing more of this. I look forward to trying to get better at this, trying to get competent at this, so that I can run some half-decent lap times. And yeah, that is my biggest takeaway, is that I actually want to try and ride faster on this one. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at the event. It was a fantastic, mad event to get to witness, and I thank very much those involved in inviting me over to that one. And I was thoroughly impressed with the game. I actually look forward to trying to get better with this sort of thing, as yeah, it was an awful lot of fun. So here we go. That is going to be it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.